Homegrown dairy producer Farm Fresh has managed to make itself a staple in many Malaysian households, which is an impressive feat considering that it is attempting to stand toe-to-toe with some of the world's largest consumer MNCs. Now, no longer a new kid on the farm, Farm Fresh has found itself facing a number of headwinds this past year. From the pandemic to raw milk shortage in Australia to competition, Farm Fresh has had to navigate all this while expanding into the ice cream business and diversifying its product line. We sit down with Farm Fresh's captain, Loi Tuan Ee, to talk about the current state of Farm Fresh's plans, product range, and its intention of doing business with a conscience. Last year, I felt, was very much sort of a year of two halves for Farm Fresh because it was a very challenging year at the beginning. We had issues with like milk supply, prices, but things definitely improved towards the end of the year. So can you give us a snapshot now as to what is Farm Fresh like in terms of sort of supply chain and cost management? Are we all back to normal now?
So indeed, I think last year, especially the first half of last year, was a very dramatic experience for us that we had never seen something like that. The inflationary pressure then was happening very, very fast, and not only fast, but it's also in a very large quantum, right? So that really, caught us by surprise, and consequently, the first half of the year, our number was really quite bad, right? So as of now, I think things are really getting a lot better. Things are getting a lot better in the sense that the commodity price have come down, you know. So in Australia, for example, the dairy raw milk price from XK Farm dropped about 4%. We wish that last year could drop more a bit, but it's only 4%. But all those savings are kicking in. The whole milk powder, for example, the price also have came up significantly. At the height of it, it was like 4,007 US. Now it's down to about 3,000 plus. So all those things are contributing. Like corn, for example, which is one of our major feed ingredient for our dairy, right? It also went bonker during the.
It did very much so. I think it was very reflected in what you saw in Australia as well. It went to a point where you actually proactively went to Bursa and issued not a warning, but you sort of gave everybody a heads up.
Yeah.
Even though nobody was asking for it. Was it that bad that you felt that the need to manage expectations?
Yeah, it was bad because we were really completely caught with surprise, and it all happened very fast, right? So then the next question comes in. There's always a question that, Farm Fresh, you are the brand leader, right? You should be able to force through the price increase and just pass down the price increase. I mean, as much as we wanted to do that, but I also felt that, this is the balancing between, when you're a PLC, right, you have the customer to look after, you have the investor to look after. So there is quite a delicate balancing to us as well. We do price on the price increase, but not at the quantum that we wanted it to be, because we are basically taking a stance that, we share the burdens a little bit. Therefore, you can see our gross profit margin actually came down, But now I think that if things are a lot better now, I think our reliance on Australia dairy product is one aspect of it, right? So we have our own farm, we have our own manufacturing, and then we ship back all those ingredients back to Malaysia. And Malaysian farm is also, we are continuing to scale our Malaysian farm. And that's one thing. And then also the skill mix as we goes by, we also move into the, let's say for example, Yara by Farm Fresh. Those are all using milk powders, whole milk powder to produce. Now we're going into baby milk powder. So the category is also expanding in such a way that we are not just solely relying on one skill, which is the raw milk.
But, we're mentioning about things changing, but currency weakness is said to be a massive theme this year. The fact that you're flinching tells me that, How is Farm Fresh managing this specific challenge, especially with everything that's, been coming out about the ringgit in the past couple of months?
I think this currency thing, personally, I find that the currency hedging is something that we do as well, to some extent, right? But then again, it's a double-edged sword, right? You got so many different opinions. Some will say, we are grossly undervalued. But I think this sentiment thing. So I think we are not economists, right? We just make sure that we run our business, look after our cow, produce the milk. So there are some impact on us if really ringgit, it's really weakening. But how much you want to hedge, I think that is also a call that Cairo will have to make, in the sense that our CFO will have to decide. how do we actually balance that out?
Does that mean that this year for Farm Fresh, we will see the Forex component of your books be a bit more prominent, you think?
If the ringgit continue to weaken at this rate, right? Now we are talking about 20 years low already, which is unthinkable, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why like that. Economically, I think the countries are doing fine. Things are doing okay, but why the ringgit continue to weaken like that, I really don't know. But I think at this point of time, what we are hoping for is that the commodity, let's say for example, the corn grain price, it has come down to a 10-year low. So because of the commodity price have come down significantly, so even with a little bit of uplift in terms of currency weakness, so we felt that we still are able to handle it, unlike last year.
While Farm Fresh is already an established presence on chiller shelves, it is, of course, not the only game in town. Previously, it was just the more established MNCs that were the group's competition, and now the field is getting even more crowded. In the past couple of years, groups like Fraser and Neave Holdings Berhad, better known as FNN, and plantation giant FGV Holdings Berhad have been getting into dairy. FNN is planning a new integrated dairy farm in Gemas, Negeri Sembilan, while FGV has signed agreements with Touch Group Holdings and Qatar's Balatna Food to also develop an integrated dairy farm, this one located in Chuping Perlis. While acknowledging that it means that Farm Fresh would need to step up its game, Loi says the dairy producer is glad for the competition.
Farm Fresh has inspired so many people, and suddenly raising dairy cow becomes so sexy, right? So I think that is something that we are proud to that. I think for more people to come into the dairy space, I think is obviously a good thing for the country, right? Then Malaysian can have more choices. Now, I think I'm not going to comment in terms of what is our competitors' activities, whether they want to do 100 million liters or 300 million liters, So make me and Jacob look like a real kindergarten, right? Despite we spend more than a decade in this business. So I think I'm not going to argue about that. But to us, as I say that, we are also moving away. Fresh milk is just one SKU, right? It's only one item. And in reality, how many liters is that Malaysian consume? Then you have the UHT, where you have the flavor milk, you have the yogurt, you have cultured milk, for example, you have the butter, and you got quite a numbers of SKU that you can actually expect. So we are not. I think we will be more emphasized in terms of our brand equity. Farm Fresh over the last 1 decade, we built a brand that and we hope that we continue to build a brand that Malaysian love us for our value, right? How we come up with product, how the company behave and things like that, and then also extending to other SKUs that which is dairy based or even non-dairy based. Like for example, we have the oat milk, we have almond milk, for example. Now we're going to go big in soy milk, for example, right? So I think from the company standpoint, I think we wanted to continue to leverage on our brand, that what we built, rather than, focus about, are they doing 300 million liters or 200 million? And that one remains to be seen until and when they are proven, right, that then we will probably learn from them, right? So anyway, as I say, from the per capita consumption, we still got a lot of headspace, right, but then this is the industry, we will still continue to see the growth, that you only want to make sure that, everybody go with the honest milk, right?
Last year was also a year where you bought a lot of interesting companies to add to the Farm Fresh fold. You bought ice cream. That was number one. That was the one that was the splashiest one that made the biggest headlines, especially. And you now want to go into things like butter, for example. I know you've gotten this question that maybe you slightly overpaid for Inside Scoop, and I don't know. Tell me the value that you see in the ice cream business.
These valuation things, they come up quite often, that people felt that, hey, Loi, why are you guys paying for such a valuation? I think it's a very subjective thing on how you look at business. I tend to look at it from a businessman or rather entrepreneurial point of view, that I know how hard it is to build a brand, right? To build followers, a brand, even like let's look at it, like today Farm Fresh, right? Our brand value and things like the brand equity. So I think that's how we see it. That's number one. And number two, I think is the people. I think in business, people are very, very important. How the founders, behave and what is their vision and what are they good at and things. I think that is also another. You can buy a good business, maybe cheap or whatever, but if you couldn't integrate it with your team properly, then you have another set of problem, right? So this is all important. And the human chemistry, partners chemistry is also important.
When you bought Inside Scoop, you didn't buy all of it. You bought the Sweet Escape, which is their healthier range. You bought, of course, the main flagship. You left out the ice cream bar, which is their alcohol-laced side of the business. It's small, but it has potential. Was that your choice, or was it like because of Khazanah and the fact that Farm Fresh is Sharia compliant? I mean, why was that business sort of left out?
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting question, right? Personally, if you ask me, I love the ice cream bar, right? It's such a great indulgence with the twist, a bit of whiskey in there or the rum inside there. It will be great, So that was one of the very big topic that Emin and I and Derek spent a lot of time sorting that out. As much as I wanted it, and I really see this ice cream bar has its potential, right? Maybe not in Malaysian context, for example, because we're a Muslim country, right? You have but say for example, Farm Fresh in Philippines, right? Down the road we are able to bring this ice cream bar to Philippines and grow our Philippine markets with the alcoholic nature. But unfortunately, as I say that we are the Malaysian-based company, we are Sharia compliance, we have Khazanah as our partners and things like that. So after when we go into the detail, we realize that it cannot be done because it's going to affect our Sharia compliance status. So Emin and I need to figure out a way how to carve out the 4 outlets, although very reluctantly.
You mentioned you're fighting for freezer space. You want them to be out there. When are we going to see that? The commercialization of of Inside Scoop under the Farm Fresh brand or whatever ice cream, because you have capacity expansion also. You have the manufacturing hub in Bandar Enstek, which is completion for the end of this year, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Is it all related to that? Is that when we'll see the commercialization of this?
Supposing the equipment for our ice cream, right? Let's say, for example, if Emin can get all the line in, by the March, and the Italian engineer can come in, within the April and May, set it up. Hopefully by June, you will probably see our little magnums those ice cream that we wanted to produce to the market. That's what we try to achieve. As for butter, the equipments are also coming in sometime in March as well. So we're going to do the block butter, which is the 200 gram, as well as the 9 gram, the Horeca single serve. And we deliberately choose not to use the plastic tub of 9 gram, which you can see now if you buy, they're all with the plastic in restaurant with the we call it thermoforming plastic, and then with the so ours is paper. So we decide these productions are very slow, but I think the markets are also moving towards people just, if you have a choice, right? A butter in a plastic cup and a butter with paper. Obviously, I think the paper. So we want to go out to the hotel, airlines, and things like that to give us. But we have to add more line as we gain traction, because the production is quite slow in that one.
While it appears to be full steam ahead for Farm Fresh in 2024, Loi says that the company is going to do it their way. This is, after all, the man who became known for personally penning an apology note to a customer who bought a bad batch of milk. Aside from the ice cream and the butter, Farm Fresh is also putting a big push behind kids' milk, which many won't argue is a lucrative business. Even here, Loi is insistent about making sure that parents know what they are buying for their kids and that the claims on the carton match what's inside. It is all about education, he says. And while that sounds altruistic, the fact is that it makes good business sense because it is all about longevity.
The connotation of dairy farming being negative, I think it is to some extent. We are not going to argue about that in terms of the methane gas emissions and what's not, right? But I think what we are consciously trying to do, and we were very proud. We were one of the winner, the SL25 winner 2 years ago in Singapore. That we were set as an example, that how you still can do well by doing good as well. So Jacob and I and the team, we spent a lot of time to ensure that when we grow our business, we do not want to be a nuisance to our neighbor, to our downstream people and things like that, right? So we work very hard to ensure that and we adopt the regenerative agriculture, whereby in a sense that all the waste that we have, all the manure water, if you can see down here, all these grass are grown with all the organic fertilizer that we have, all or the water. So we are very conscious of that. We invest huge amount of money to ensure that that part of it is taken care. We continue to nourish the soil that it can produce more grass for us, for example, right? So, and then on the other hand, I think from the farming side, say for example, we are the only dairy company in Asia to be accredited as certified humane, right? So I think this is also, not just you want to have environment, there's a lot of animal right group, oh, do you abuse the cow? So I'm not going to argue with you on that, what we've done right and things like that. So we work very hard to get the accreditation done to make sure that however we grow, we will still have to work very hard that all these cow, the calf, everything are humanely treated, right?
So Farm Fresh is not just a milk company, it's a milk company with a conscience?
Conscience is a big word now, right?
Yeah.
So I think our the way we run our company, the people that we wish to have, we wanted them to be part of the communities. Right? You just have to be caring now, right? It's not about just making money, right? So this is something that I think is this constant a principle, or rather the philosophy that we hope that everybody is mindful of that. What Farm Fresh, what is our purpose, right? Besides making money, besides doing business, there are other things, right, in life. Yeah.